I originally posted my unboxing of the Kingston HyperX 3K SSD in October-ish of 2012, I want to say. It was definitely 2012. That's 3 going on 4 years ago, and I'm still using it today. And so in this video, I'm going to explain my experience with this SSD and the basis for my Epos Vox Media Built to Last award that I mentioned in a previous review.
This video is brought to you by Control Freak, the top performance enhancing console gaming accessory. Their FPS freaks are next gen ready and will help give you a competitive edge. Use promo code EPOSVOX at checkout to save 10%. Click the screen to learn more.
So in my review of the WAST code keyboard, I gave it my Epos Vox Media Built to Last award, which is the first Built to Last award I ever, put out there. But then I mentioned that had I, come up with that idea when I reviewed the SteelSeries 6G V2, it would have gotten that award as well. Well, so would have quite a few other products, again, had I already had this in place. And one of those products is the Kingston HyperX 240GB 3K SSD that I received in 2012 for review. Pretty crazy. Now, compared to today's standards, I will point out that this hard drive isn't necessarily the most up-to-date and super fast and powerful and all that jazz, because this came out almost 4 years ago, and SSD technology was nowhere near that point back then. And frankly, a 240GB solid-state drive was pretty freaking baller back then. The biggest one that I had that I could afford personally at that time was a 60GB. So at that time, I installed it in my system, used it, ran some benchmarks, stuff like that, and it worked great. And it worked great as my main operating system for a long time until I needed to rebuild for a bunch of various reasons. And then it just became kind of an extraneous drive that hung out for a bit. Well, then my fiance Chu got a new laptop a year or two ago, and it had a super slow, laptop hard drive, and I was like, all right, I'll put that solid state drive in there. And it served her well for the past couple years. But that laptop died and she recently got a new one, and she's using just the normal hard drive in it because it has a 1TB and she needs to put a bunch of games on it, and it's a lot faster, so the solid state drive isn't as important. So I popped it back in my main machine and it still works great. And while I originally wanted to clone my OS solid state drive because I'm just running on a Kingston SSD VNow 120GB that keeps filling up, I wanted to clone it over to that SSD, and I've had, despite the fact that I've cloned OS drives a bajillion different times and it usually goes fairly quickly, it just wouldn't work. So I have it set up as my secondary program files drive as well as a scratch disk for Photoshop and the like. And it's working pretty baller. Ran some speed tests, and I'll show you the benchmarks up here for DX Story and Crystal Disk Mark, just some basic stuff. Again, it's not gonna compete with the NVMe standard Intel 750 series PCIe solid state blah blah blah. It's not gonna compete with all that. But it's still a pretty freaking fast drive compared to normal hard drives, and it's still fairly useful to have in my system. So this SSD would definitely get my Built to Last award, as it has been a pretty rock solid state drive for 4 years in a row, when back at that time, the idea behind solid state drives, everybody assumed that they would die fairly quickly. So props to them for that. My Built to Last award is just, it's made around products like that, products that I get sent for review, and as far as I can tell, they're gonna be great, and then I've spent some time with them, and they really are gonna last you a long time. They're really built to last a long time and still serve their full function. Like if it slowed down a whole lot or, was only useful in certain situations, it wouldn't be that great. And I've had some stuff like that, like the Logitech G430 headset. In terms of build quality, I probably would have given it a Built to Last award, just on build quality alone, but in terms of sound quality and keeping up with other headsets, it doesn't quite make that cut. And so hopefully this provides a little bit of clarity into this award system. I'm still working on it, it's still new. If you have any suggestions or anything like that for it, do drop it in the comment section down there. Thank you so much for watching. I will post a link to this SSD as well if you're interested in it for some reason in the description below. And this isn't sponsored or anything. Again, I got this solid state drive 4 years ago. Just wanted to point it out, make a video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.